Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to go again through the basics that we went through before. We're going to create index.html and then we're going to create main.js. We'll go into my GitHub repository that is going to be in the description, and you just gotta copy the index.html content. If you are afraid to copy my code, you just go into Three.js documentation is going to be also in the description. You go in the installation, and here you will find everything that is inside my GitHub repository. So it doesn't really matter where you find it, but if you're more familiar with the documentation, you can pretty much freely use it. And now we're going to use this model that we just imported in our script. So I'm going to use this three. I go here and I say import everything. I want to make it as 3. So basically inside this instance, I will access all of them. And then I say from 3, since 3 we just imported. And the next thing I want to get access to is WebGL that is going to be imported from 3, add-ins, and then capabilities. And then we go to WebGL.js. And from this thing, we are going to make a check. About which I said in the previous tutorial. That was second lesson. Yep. So the first thing is header. We're going to make a function. If you're not familiar with structure I use, you gotta watch the first video. Function init scene. Inside this, we're going to make 3 things. It's scene, it's camera, and it's renderer. But before we do them there, we have to actually declare them as let. So the first thing is scene, the second thing is camera, and the last thing is renderer. Okay, so it's pretty cool. Let's go here and say scene is equal to new 3 scene. There is no parameters there, so we're going to the next one is going to be camera, and camera is going to be equal new instance of 3, and then perspective camera. And in this one, we have a lot of parameters. So the first one is going to be 75. It's kind of area of the camera. And then the next thing is aspect ratio. If you're not familiar with all these things, go to the lesson first, or the first lesson, whatever. So we go in the window and inner dot width. That is going to be over window inner height. And this is going to be our aspect ratio, since I want to render the whole scene as the window goes. So basically width and height of the window. And then the next thing is our nearest distance from the camera that we can see, and the farthest distance of the camera that we can see. But beyond this, we cannot go. And then the next thing is render. That is going to be as well in instance of 3, and we're going to say it's going to be WebGL, and I messed it up. Let's go again. And here we are, WebGL renderer. So for this renderer, that is just I said, I want to set size, and the size is going to be, as I said before, Windows. What did I do? Windows. Window. Wait. Let's go again. Window inner width, and then window inner height. Let's make sure that this is actually height. So the last thing is actually to add it into our body, and we'll just make it with append child. And it is going to be renderer dot DOM element. And because of this line, it explains the name of the function. So if there would be no this line, it doesn't make any sense that this is init scene, because we don't initialize anything. But once we add it into our actual HTML structure, that makes sense. The next thing is body. Inside body, I want create to function the function that is going to be create objects. And inside this function, I will create necessarily the circle. So the first thing, I want to create the geometry for the circle, and I'll call it circle geometry. That is going to be equal, as you may know, 3.circle geometry, and inside this there's a radius, and there are segments, and radius I want to say 2.5. The segments are going to be 7. And if you may, comprehend what actually radius is, it might be difficult to understand. It might be difficult to understand what are the segments, but if you will go just in documentation and you will try to find what circle is, and you'll go in the circle geometry, as you can see, these things are the segments. So less segments we have, less it good, because it becomes like first it's triangle, then it goes rectangle, and more segments it goes into the circle. I don't advise to add all of them, like lots of them, because it will make animation and rendering a lot more difficult. So probably just make it 32. I think it is pretty good. And here we're going to use basic material, and inside this it receives the object, and inside this object there might be a color, and inside so I'm going to say that I want to have whatever, let's say blue. Yep. So, and okay, I think I messed this one up. So the next thing is circle, and I am not going to make a constant since I want to rotate my circle. So I'll go here and I'll say circle is here. Now circle is going to be equal to new instance of 3. That is going to be mesh, and it is going to combine our geometry, that is circle geometry, and our material, that is circle material. And here we are. So the last thing left is to add it in the scene, because if we wouldn't add it in the scene, that wouldn't make any sense, right? So we're going to say scene, add, and circle goes in. Pretty good. Then the last thing left is the footer that contains most of the function. And the first function of the footer is going to be animate. Then the second function of the footer is going to be on resize window do something. And I forgot about the parentheses. We can start with the animate. We're going to request animation frame, and if you have no idea what I'm doing right now, check out my first video. Then, as I said before, I want to rotate my circle, and since I want to rotate, I'm going to call rotation, and set it equals plus equals to 0.01. The same thing I want to do with the y-axis. And the last thing left is actually rendering our scene. So I'm going to say render, and we're going to render the actual scene and the camera. So because these are the parameters that animate receives from us. Now in resize window, it is important to understand that the actual things that matter for us are render width and height and our camera width and height. Therefore, the first thing I would want to change, since the camera is the first, I will say camera, and I will say aspect is equal to, and I'll say window inner width over window inner height. So you might say, well, what is that? If you'll go in the camera and you'll go here, you will see that the second parameter is aspect, and here it is. So whenever the user is going to change the window, like the size of the window, we're going to re-render the whole scene as well as the dimensions of the scene. Okay, camera aspect, we changed it. Now let's make sure that it was changed. So I will say camera, and then I will say update. If I'm not mistaken, that's what's called update animation metrics, but I want to make sure. Where's the camera? Cameras. So let's check, because I want to make sure that I do the right thing. And So I don't quite see this. Let's say, yeah, I think that is the, yep. So update projection matrix. So update projection matrix. Okay, and we're going to call it. And then the next thing is, as I said, render. Basically, you can just copy this line of code and paste it in here. And it looks like it's pretty much about it. Now, I want to go and actually bind them all together. So I'm going to say if, and I will call our WebGL, and I will say is WebGL available. If it is available, first I'm going to initialize the scene and call this function. Second, I'm going to create all the objects we've done. Third, we are going to create document add event listener that is going to listen for resize and call the function that has been just created on resize window. And the last parameter, let's say it's true. Pretty good. The last thing is animate, and we're just going to call this function. Now in else, I'm going to say that document body append child, and we're going to append WebGL, basically the error message. And it's actually get error, I think get WebGL error message. I think this is how it is. We're pretty set, yep, we're pretty set it up. So we're set up. So let's actually check how it works. I'm going to run my server, and now you might say, well, I don't have a server, let's quit or close this video. Not so. You just go on my YouTube channel and you find this video that is PHP 8.3+ on Mac, 4 minutes, the easiest way, or you just go in the description and find this video, and you will, in 4 minutes, really, though the video is 10 minutes, it's really about 4 minutes. Once you watch it, you realize what I'm saying, and you will be able to do this command 127.0.0.1, and then let's say AD80, and you'll be able to run it and check out what is going on. Now we've got an error, and I want to know what is the error we've got. So it says okay, it says we've got an error. Now let's check what is wrong here. So we imported WebGL from 3 add-ins, capabilities, WebGL.js. It looks like, yep, I messed it up. Capabilities, like this. Now let's check this again. Okay, it's a little bit better. So it looks like we see pretty much nothing. And this is, so I gotta figure this out. Okay, yep, because we forgot to position. So it is good that this happened, so we know what is going on. So the reason why we have black screen right now is because our camera is at position 0, but our circle is 2.5. So basically our camera is inside our circle. In order to fix this, we go in the create objects and we say camera position Z or Z is equal to 5. Let's check what will happen now. Okay, here it is. And here's our circle, as you can see. So So I made these, sharp edges so that you can actually understand the way it rotates. So if I would do as I said, or as I recommended 32, that would work perfectly fine as this circle, as you can see. And you still see those sharpened edges, right? But yeah, of course, it's up to you. You can make 64, which is going to be harder to render, but it's fine for you. Um, so this is pretty much what this video is all about, to just recall what we learned in the previous videos, recall the whole structure and how is it working. The important thing about the is WebGL available is that if it's not available, the user may actually know what was the reason that caused the error. And I messed it up here too, because I said get WebGL error message. I don't know, like, how should it be? So anytime you get an error, you go into documentation, and you look for this WebGL what is that? Compatibility check. And if we will take a look, it's WebGL error message, and it's weird for me because I said absolutely the same thing. WebGL get WebGL error. Okay, here it is. I misspelled the word message. And now you see this message that says your graphics card does not seem to support WebGL. As you can see, while you're coding, you do some mistakes, and you can easily fix them just by going to documentation. So I hope this video was helpful. It was the third video on the series, and I'll see you in the next ones.